back, everybody, to another edition of Pure Picks. We're out here for the best bets of the week for Sadiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza coming up this fight night. I have my man Alex here with me, and he's going to be our guide throughout this whole video and hopefully get some best plays and bets going. Um, First off, Alex, I just want to hear your thoughts. I heard George's thoughts about the recap from last week, but just quickly, what kind of lessons did you gain overall, or what kind of just education, I guess, if you will, that you kind of gained from last week?
Yeah, last week's card was, as we all know, it was a tough card to kind of predict. There were a lot of upsets. Another main event upset, another minus 5, 600 upset. Last one being Adesanya. So in terms of like the lesson that I learned, um, if I think when I think there are like probably two right times to make bets. Like one is, right when a line drops and you have like a deep conviction on a certain fighter.
Hmm.
Before like a lot of the line movement happens. I guess really three. So like one, once the line drops, second time, maybe when there's like a lot of momentum shifting a certain way and you want to get kind of ahead of that or
Hmm.
with that momentum before it kind of blows out of control. And then the third is right after weigh-ins and kind of uh, the like interviews, when
Hmm.
fighters are like kind of talking about like, how they're feeling. Especially, last card, I think James, me and you, we picked Alex Morono.
Hmm.
Um, but by the post weigh-ins, it was pretty clear that Buckley looked a lot better and was a lot more confident. So that's one lesson. And then oh, and with that too, one of our prop bets, Joe Piper by sub plus
Yeah.
550, that hit. And a lot of that was just from like his interviews. He was talking about how he was gonna mix it up. Like he knew how dangerous his opponent was. So, he was telling like us, he's gonna mix it up. And so it's important to capitalize on those situations. So that's another lesson. Um, and of course, like when you have when you have a parlay that's riding on a heavy favorite, always smart, just to hedge. It's such a plus EV um, move to hedge the parlay, especially when you're getting that much juice. And so I think always just hedge. You're gonna you're gonna have less anxiety during the fight, and it's just a smart move. So those are kind of the lessons that I took away from that fight card.
I agree with all 3 points that you made. Just wanted to kind of piggyback on the press conference tidbit that you did. It's also really important to trust, know when to trust a certain fighter, right? You can trust a guy like Joe Pfeiffer. This guy looks like he's all business. You can just kind of hear the way he's talking. Maybe not trust a guy like Tony Ferguson, who kind of talks all over the place, does like tangents and all that, right? So learn who to trust and learn who not to trust during this press conference, and that really could lead you to either A, losing money, or B, gaining money. That's really as simple as that. So I really like that point you made, and Joe Pfeiffer, you can kind of listen to him all business. So good guy to put your money on, good guy to listen to, good guy to learn the truth from. Um, so yeah, let's just get started in terms of the next card. I'm really excited to hear what you have going on as far as your best bets and plays. When you sent it over to me, I took a look at them, and a lot of interesting ones. First off, I think you're starting off with a parlay. Could you inform the people, the pure pickers, what kind of parlay you have going on for the first half?
Yeah, so I'm this fight card as I think you and Gerard broke it down yesterday. It's also it's a pretty tough one to kind of predict as well, same as last week's. You can make a case for a lot of the underdogs in each fight, really. So for this card, we're going to keep it kind of, tight.
Mhm.
So for the parlay, we have Michel Pereira over 2.5, Saaiman and Rod. Third leg will be over 2.5, Ducote and Yoder. And the fourth leg, uh, it's going to be Sadiq Yusuff.
Perfect, perfect. So just let me read that back to you. You have Michel Pereira money line, Cameron Saaiman over 2.5. Also the over 2.5 on Ducote, and then last leg is Sadiq Yusuff for 4 leg parlay. And let me just tell you the odds right now at the moment that we're doing this video looks like it's a plus 378. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
Cool.
so I personally have a 2-unit bet on that, and I feel pretty confident about it.
Perfect. Do you want to tell us about like each leg pretty quickly, just so we can get some analysis on why you include this certain leg in this 4 leg parlay?
Definitely. So first leg, Michel Pereira. So this leg is really all about fading Andre Petroski. Um, I felt that, looking at his fight against GM3, he looked, awful. Fight ended up being a split decision win. So I don't think that's a good look at all for Petroski. Um, and then the fight before that against Wellington Turman, I wasn't overly impressed either. Another kind of decision win that he squeaked out. Um, so it's really about fading Petroski. Um, I understand that, Michel Pereira, he's moving up a weight class, um, but he does have a 94% takedown defense. And, he was a huge welterweight to begin with. So, um, you know, on the feet, it's really not even a conversation. Michel Pereira is, levels above Petroski. So when I think about this fight, my kind of expectation, and I think this is really important to do, especially if you're putting a bet on, any type of fight, is to build up an expectation of how you think the fight is going to play out. And then obviously afterwards, if it plays out the way you did, then like, that's good. But if it doesn't, that's also like a learning experience too. But for me, my expectation for how this fight is going to play out is, Petroski is going to be doing a lot of cage pushing, a lot of clench work on Pereira because he's primarily a wrestler. Um, so in my mind, once Petroski does all that, I'm thinking Pereira will be, with his 94% takedown defense, I'm thinking he'll be able to, work out of those positions, work out of that clinch and, start chipping away at him. Um, and if Petroski does manage to successfully secure a takedown, I think, it'll be really interesting to see if Pereira will be able to get back up. So, that's something that I'm looking for. But, in terms of, how I see that fight, a lot of cage push. But the fight starts on the feet, so I think Pereira's just gonna be lighting him up and chipping away at him. So that is the first leg. Second leg, the over 2.5, Cameron Saaiman and C-Rod. I just think that both of these guys are incredibly durable, as evidenced by their records. Saaiman has never lost, and C-Rod only one loss, but that was a decision loss. Um, and so what I really like about C-Rod is he has a very patient and level-headed kind of like fighting style. Um, Rarely do you ever kind of see him panic. In the Raul Rosas fight, he came out guns blazing, but C-Rod was, very he didn't lose his cool. He just maintained composure and was able to weather that storm. So I really like C-Rod's grappling in this fight. And then Saaiman, on the other hand, he's, the better striker, kickboxer. He's more slick on the feet. He's more agile. Um, and also with those skills, he also has, wrestling skills. His last fight against Terrence Mitchell, I believe. He showcased, that ground and pound. Even though, Terrence Mitchell is he's a can, but he still showcased, wrestling skills, right? And I understand that, both of these guys hit hard. Um, but again, neither fighter has been finished. Um, and I think that, the fighter that gets tagged will start leaning into that clench and wrestle game to kind of recover. So what I really like again, is because Simon's the better striker, most likely he's going to be the one that tags C-Rod, and then C-Rod is the better grappler. Um, so he'll be able to kind of weather that storm by getting into that clench and wrestle game to, you know, burn off clock. So um, I think this is like a really good spot for the over. For those points that I just made, and the fact that these guys, I think they're just really durable. Like it could
Yeah.
come down to like these guys just having a chin. So you have that like as an added boost. So that's my analysis for that one. And then the third one is the third leg is over 2.5 Ducote and Yoder. James, I believe you had this leg as well. So I really like this bet because first of all, this is women's MMA. So, you're already getting value, on the fact that it's, generally tougher to, um, for women to like, get that one punch KO. So you you already have that advantage. Um, on top of that, in terms of like the fighter specifically, Yoder, 0 knockouts in her career. Ducote, 3 knockouts in 20 career fights. And then what I also like that's kind of interesting for me is so Yoder is coming off of a 2-year layoff, and I personally like that because that just means she's going to be fighting a little bit more timid, a little bit more reserved. She's not going to be blowing her load in the first round. She's not going to do any of that. Um, she also has a great wrestling game. Um, so, clench again, like clench work, wrestle work, this is all like good recipes for overs hitting. Um, so again, my expectation, for the fight, I think Ducote is going to win, and I think Ducote is going to, uh, chip away at Yoder as well. But I don't think that she can get a KO off of a fresh Yoder. So I like the 2.5 a lot here. So that's the analysis for that. And then finally, it's we have the fourth and final leg, which is also the main event. Um, and so again, if those 3 legs hit,
Right.
you should maybe think about hedging if it gets to that point. But fourth leg, I also really like Sadiq Yusuff. Um, so in this fight, I think Edson will definitely have his moments. He's a very he has like nice, striking abilities. He has a really nice low kick. And with Sadiq's kind of fighting stance, I think he could have a lot of success kind of chopping away at that lead leg. Um, but I just think that, for Sadiq, even though he is hittable, he's going to be the one applying the pressure on Edson and kind of making him feel uncomfortable. And I know Edson handled Billy Q's pressure, from the last fight because Billy Q, has that nonstop pressure and in your face, and he caught him with the knee. But I want to point out that like Sadiq Yusuff's pressure and Billy Q's pressure is kind of different. So Sadiq is more of like that, methodical kind of walk you down type pressure. That Edson knows that, oh, this guy has like insane power, so he's kind of like scared about that. So it's a different kind of pressure that I would say. Um, and it's much more measured and kind of like a kill shot type of pressure. And I think Yusuff, I think he's 30 years old. Edson Barboza 37. So I just feel like Edson's on his way out, and I like Sadiq Yusuff here. I think, the last four main events have been like kind of all over the place.
Hmm.
So I think, this one it's gonna be back to regular programming. So I like Sadiq Yusuff to round out the four leg parlay.
Wow, I actually love all four legs. The one that I find that I have the most value, the most is probably the over 2.5 on Cameron Saaiman C-Rod. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, both of these guys are super durable. I don't see Cameron Saaiman with his kind of toughness, if you will. He has a really
Yep.
tough kind of mindset, durability, and C-Rod with just calculated, composed kind of measuredness about him. So I really love that 2.5 that you got at -175. That's awesome. Also, I think Sadiq Yusuff, yeah, same thing. I mean, we've got some wild main events so far, back to back to back, pretty much, and I think it's going to be a break from that little circus that we've been seeing these last few weeks. So I totally agree, and I'm glad that you brought up that pressure point too. I mean, Billy Q, you're right. His pressure is more about applying that volume and kind of pace and kind of just being in your face all the time.
Yep.
Sadiq Yusuff, that's he's setting up something for a knockout, so or a sub. You never know. So he's setting
Yes.
something up to kind of kill you. So I like both all four of those legs, honestly. So yeah, that's great. I mean, I honestly I might tell you, might go for like a unit, a little half a unit or something, because I mean plus 378, it's pretty good. I mean for four
That's
legs,
nice.
yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, great job, man. I like that parlay. So the next one that you have, I believe you found a prop bet play for us. Could you explain a little bit about, your thought process behind that and really tell us why you did it?
Yeah, so I touched, slightly on this, with the over 2.5 Cameron Saaiman and Christian Rodriguez. So for this prop bet, I have Simon by points.
Okay.
Um, so my breakdown of this is when I was watching C Rod's tape, his last couple of fights, um, they were all C Rod won both those fights, but I felt like they were all as a result of the opponent kind of offensively grappling against C Rod. And, with C Rod's kind of, again, his kind of like mental fortitude, his calmness, uh, that type of kind of offensive wrestling and grappling doesn't really work as well against a guy like C Rod, who's so composed. Um, and then with this current fight against Saaiman, although Saaiman will again, like he went with that offensive wrestling against Terrence Mitchell. Although he does go for those kind of grappling exchanges, I have a feeling that his game plan is going to be, let's just stay on the feet, because Saaiman, like, in terms of striking ability, I like Saaiman more. I think he's the better striker, better kickboxer. If he wants to outpoint C Rod, he'll be able to. Um, so I think Simon's game plan has to be, let me just outpoint this guy. Let me chip him down. And if Simon gets into a grappling exchange, that's when it can be a little bit dicey. But with the dog odds, I think it's a good play. So my second bet is a straight bet on Simon by points.
Perfect. And just for the viewers, that is right now plus 300 on Bet Online. Yeah, pretty good value there. Solid kind of 3x. It did open up at plus 250, so there's a little bit of action that's heading the other way from that side, but I mean, it hasn't really moved in a while. So, I mean, yeah, plus 300 could be probably the Pico top right there for that prop bet.
Yeah,
Awesome, man. So, yeah, I mean, I think honestly, that I think these plays are great. They are paywall worthy, if you will. I think that this is something that I'll definitely pay for a pick because I mean that parlay especially it just has four legs in my opinion that each of them I think are solid like even money line bets. But obviously, we want to try to juice up some odds, get some more value coming in. So I like that you parlayed that, then obviously the Cameron Saaiman one, I mean, plus 300, not bad as well. Um, Awesome. Well, before we head off, I mean, any final thoughts on the card overall, or any kind of other plays that you might have even just thought of right now during this video? I really want to kind of get your thoughts out there in the open before we head on to this fight card.
Uh, Nothing new. Again, I just want to hammer the point that that this card is pretty tough again.
Yeah.
So best to play it safe. You don't need to have action on every fight. Especially with next week's pay-per-view
Oh,
card.
yeah. There you
That
go,
one's gonna be
dude.
really nice, and we're gonna have some good stuff for that
Yeah.
card. So stay tuned for that. But um, you don't need to force action when there's nothing to be had. So uh, just if you're watching the fights, just enjoy them, and kind of take if you're just starting out your kind of like MMA betting career, take some notes, some like mental notes of these fighters, and see who you want to fade in the future. So that's all I got to really say about this week's card.
I agree with that. Just to kind of ride your coattails on that statement that you made about next week's fight card, right? It always seems like the week before the kind of big event, right? There's a lot of traps going on. They kind of want you to lose that money before, so you don't have that many units to play with the next week. So yeah, please, guys, if unless you find some kind of sharp angle that you really are confident on, just please save that for the locks that are coming next week, because there's a lot of locks coming next week compared to this week, and I want.
There's some locks.
Yeah, this I might we might hear Alex say Gigalock again, right? Like we might hear that. Notice that we didn't hear any of that this week, so save that for next week. We're about to hear some Gigalocks and have some fun out there. Anyways, well, that pretty much wraps up the video. I'm glad that we did this in a simple, short, kind of sweet format here. Please give us a like, subscribe, comment on the videos. Really help out for the algorithm and really the engagement that we'll get from the audience. But until next time, we're out. Have fun, everyone. Best of luck for the beer
Pick
pick.
snake, baby.
Yeah, Picks Nation, exactly. Throw up the signs. Picks Nation. I'm James, and I'll wrap up here. And for Alex, he's gonna about head out. But yeah, have a great day, guys.